here we go. Jumping in a little bit on number 6 here, we're going to graph this. So we want to get the log thing by itself so that we can fishhook, and then we'll move the 1 over to solve for x. So x equals 2 to the y plus 1 plus 1. Again, be super careful as you're writing these so that it's clear where the numbers are. Don't end up with something that looks like you can't tell if the number's in the exponent or not. That was the example I showed yesterday of, well, where is that minus 3? Sometimes it's even worse than that. So, well, I can't really tell what's going on if you write it like that. So write it neatly and carefully so that you can tell what's going on. All right, 3 columns for our table of values because we always want our exponent to be -1, 0, and 1. And I put it next to the y stuff because that's where the exponent is. So the exponent is the y is the exponent. 0 is the easiest one to get, so if you're having trouble or you just want to kind of roll into the problem, then figure out what makes it 0 first. That's usually the easiest thing. So -1 for y would give me an exponent of 0. 0 for y would give me an exponent of 1. And -2 for y would give me an exponent of -1. Plug in the y values, although it's kind of halfway done for you already because we forced the exponent to be -1. So if I plug in y equals -2, I know the exponent's -1. 2 to the -1 plus 1. That would be a half plus 1. So 1.5. You always get a fraction on these because that first entry in your row, or the first entry in your table, always has a negative exponent, which means it's flipped over, which means it's a fraction. So you're always going to have at least one, probably only one, that's a fraction. All right, if we plug in -1, we get 2 to the 0 plus 1, so 1 plus 1 is 2. If we plug in 0, we get 2 to the first plus 1, so 2 plus 1 is 3. And now we're ready to put those on the graph. So 1.5, -2, 2, -1, 3, 0. Again, if you want to graph more points, you can, but we need to see those 3 key points. There's my picture. We want to do domain, range, and asymptote. Let's see. The domain looks like it starts, well, it doesn't quite get to 1. So 1 to infinity, but don't include 1. Speaking of getting close to 1, that's an asymptote. So x equals 1. And in the range, it goes forever down and forever up. So a lot of information, a lot of pieces goes into graphing logs, although the bulk of it we already know how to do because we know how to graph exponents.